Well, hello again, and again. We are A Place Pictures. It is me, Avraham ben Yehuda.
And me, Dylan Herin-Soule.
And we are coming closer and closer to being your favorite filmmakers here as you watch our podcast that we talk about various topics in films, sometimes just get into films in general. I mean, look, we have intros and stuff, so go check them out. But so be sure that you like and subscribe and share our videos, and feel free to comment down in the comment section about certain things that you hear us talking about. And if there's a topic that you would like us to cover, just let us know. We may be able to talk about it depending on how weird Dylan is about it. I mean, maybe.
Hey, I'm not weird. Yeah, and you might be seeing this, you might be listening to it. It's because we have two different things. We have the audio only version, and then we have the video version. You can see that on YouTube. You can just listen. You can just hear. So you might not, you might not know. You might not know. All right, now you know.
G.I. Joe. Wait, actually, no. That wouldn't.
Is that the... See, speaking of it, we just talked about how I grew up in the 90s as a 90s kid. Mm-hmm. You grew up in the 80s as an 80s kid, mm-hmm. looking at the 70s and thinking that was cool, but you didn't really know. I looked at the 80s thinking the 80s were cool, but I didn't know all the... Actually, you know what? I take that back. I didn't think the 80s were cool. I thought the 80s were really lame. People would talk about 80s, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty stupid. I'd see the outfits. The outfits look dumb. The hair bands look stupid. Are you kidding me? And now I appreciate the 80s. Now I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, cyberpunk. And I wish I'd never changed my mind about the 80s. I think the 80s is stupid. Come on, this looks dumb. That looks dumb.
The 80s, come on, man. The 80s was like the explosion of hip hop. That happened in the 80s, man. That's why you just can't top the 80s.
That's true.
That's one of the coolest things that it had. And then, we also had Prince. We also had Michael Jackson. But we also had Def Leppard and Rat. And
Rat.
But Guns N' Roses, man. Towards the end, Guns N' Roses. And then actually, technically, if you want to get technical, that was Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think they first came out at the end of the 80s, the first album they had. So
okay, yeah.
It was, it was a crazy time, and it was wacky. It was wacky. It was weird.
Do you remember having that kind of experience where, like, what did you think of the 70s when you were younger, when you didn't know about this? Like, did you have
an idea of them? Well, I don't know. It's like...
Like, did you think growing up, you're like, oh, the 70s, that's lame. It's cool now, or cool. Because, I think the 90s I think every generation essentially thinks they're cool. And then with the older generation's old. And then, but I could be wrong. I
don't think I ever thought the 70s were lame. I don't think I ever thought that. It was hard to even think that.
Well, that's hard to, because the 70s were cool.
Because everybody talked about how cool they were. So
that's true.
It was like you weren't allowed to think the 70s were lame,
Yeah. But people would try to say, older people would be like, yeah, the 80s are so cool. It's all this cool stuff. And every time I'd hear about it, I'd be like, that doesn't sound cool to me. 70s always, did sound cool, but 80s did not. But I've changed my mind. The 80s is cool. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
We just all want to get along. Everything was fine. Everything was stellar.
It's fine. He said angrily.
There's a song at work now, when I'm trying to tell somebody it's fine, I always think of that song, that Reet Petite song by Jackie Wilson, which actually came out in the 50s.
What's that?
Because he's like, she's so fine, fine, fine. She's so fine. And when I want to change it, be like, look, it's fine, fine, fine. petite. Anyway, well, so how you been, man? What you got? What's new with you?
Well, this week yeah. Let's see. What do I got? Trying to think. Well, I don't know. Video games. I'm playing. Okay. Well, yeah. I finished the Mistborn trilogy, the Era 1 trilogy. So I finished. There's 3. Yeah. Well, it's a trilogy. 3 books. The Mistborn, or it's called The Final Empire, and then the second one is The Well of Ascension. The third one is Hero of Ages. And I finished it. Long journey that I felt like I went on a journey in my mind.
All 3 games?
Yeah. Or not games. These are books. I did start saying game.
Okay.
But I switched my thing because that was like a bigger thing. It took me months to read these things. I'm a slow reader, and I finished it. And I mean, this isn't book talk. We're filmmakers. I know I can't committing a crime by saying books, but we did talk about it earlier about what adaptation.
Oh yeah.
So that was the Mistborn series.
Okay, that was that you said that you would like to adapt. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
A little bit disappointed by the last book. Got my issues with it. My full review you can find that on TikTok. No, no, but a little disappointed. But the ending's good. It all the very ending of it is like it's pretty well regarded. I didn't like the book as a whole as much as a lot of people have. But that's just me. I'm disagreeable.
I finally watched that Paul Thomas Anderson trailer.
Oh yes,
that was that looks pretty cool. Kind of like we mentioned before, I'm surprised that he's doing such an action, including kind of film, because usually Tom's PTA is all about the drama. Yeah. And just to see people running with guns, and I'm like, whoa, PTA, what are you doing? But still, it still looks like him. It looks like his style. I'm definitely excited about it. Like I would be excited for any other. I can't say all of his films because I wasn't excited about Licorice Pizza, but I am excited about this one. That's what I was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks cool. I'm curious to see. His trailers are always a little different from the actual film.
Of course.
It's like it's interesting though. I think I'm rooting for it. I think it's going to be great. First time getting to work with Leonardo DiCaprio. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be. I'm really curious, like how he works with him. You know what I mean?
The dynamic. Yeah.
Because he's very specific. Mm-hmm. Paul Thomas Anderson directs a specific way, and DiCaprio, he's been around the block for a long time, acting wise. So I'm really curious how that's gonna gel.
Like the thing about DiCaprio, it's like, bro, how do you work with every great director in the industry? I'm talking.
I don't know.
This guy's worked with Christopher Nolan. He's worked with Quentin Tarantino. He's worked with Martin Scorsese, James Cameron when he was younger. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He's just all in the atmosphere, man. And now PTA. Well, of course.
Yeah. He was like, well, might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you never know. They may have tried to work together like in times prior, and it just never.
I think they have. Yeah, that's the thing. I think he wanted him for Boogie Nights. I think there was like a movie, but yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson supposedly has been like trying to work with him for like a long time with the scheduling.
Okay.
So
So yeah, just another Oscar director for good old Leonardo, huh?
yeah.
You got a favorite Leonardo performance?
My favorite of his would be Catch Me If You Can.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you really like that movie.
I really like that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. And I don't know if it's like because I really like that movie, but I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it too, but I do think him in that is good.
Yeah.
Like he does give a really, it's kind of sad, that character.
I don't know if I could say. I know the character I enjoyed watching him play the most was in. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. The character he plays in Django Unchained.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of his name right now, but I enjoyed watching him get into that role.
Yeah.
And it was so intense, and I couldn't stand him at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I had like the
Plays a
same.
very good bad guy.
I had like the same response as what's his name's character when he asked for his handshake. Like, if I met you, Leonardo, I would not shake your hand right now. Man.
When he's directed really well, that's why I'm really curious what his performance is going to be like in this one, because PTA can bring out really good performances from his actors.
Yeah.
And so can Tarantino. So it's cool seeing him in a few of Tarantino's stuff, and he really brings it on those.
Yeah, they're supposedly they're friends, Tarantino and PTA.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was interesting. I'm like,
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's like a '90s kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're both like children of the '90s, but it's cool though because they both have such very different styles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's movie thingy of the Weeky time.
I love how cheesy that is.
What director would you want to hang out with? Could be dead or alive. Who would you want to hang out with? And then, what director would you not want to hang out with?
What director would I want to hang out with, and which one would I not hang out with?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because the first thing I think about when I hear that is how people say like you don't want to meet your heroes.
Oh yeah.
So that already makes me cautious. Now, Darren Aronofsky is one of my favorite filmmakers, but I don't think I would want to hang out with him. Oh, okay, there we go. One director that is alive that I would want to hang out with because I think I'd have a blast with is Jordan Peele. Now, Jordan Peele is not he's on my list as ones I like, but he's not one I like that's like super one of my favorite, but I think he'd be fun to hang out with. And the reason I say that is because I think I could learn a lot from Jordan Peele. I think he like has like the inside like scoop on a lot of stuff going on in the movies. And I already know he's hilarious. So we would be joking as well as talking about films, and I would definitely ask him a lot, man. I'd talk to him about Get Out, his experience in making that, and then definitely want to see what his thoughts about Us were, seeing that I had problems with that film with the way it was, but I'd want to hear his explanation, and how what his original vision was, and with Nope, and like what's going on. And then I would probably end the night by saying, Peele, check it out. I got this script, right? I need a producer for it, man. You the man. You the man. You are the man. So yeah. So that's probably who I would like hanging out with.
Yeah.
A filmmaker I do not think I would like hanging out with is Wes Anderson. And no disrespect to Wes Anderson. I'm not trying to hate on the dude or anything. But he just does not. It seems like the only way you can hang out with him and have a good time is if you were super creatively pretentious. Like it seems like that's the only way you can hang out with. Like you have to have seen all his movies, and like you have to know who all his character was, and then you have to know all of his influences, and then he'd be like,
yeah, the influence was one. He's like art books and old articles from France in the 60s. And
like, even if he invited me to hang out with him, I would feel like the whole time I'm hanging out with him, in the back of his mind, he'd be like, you are not worthy to hang out with me. I just get that vibe from his filmmaking, you know. And now, but hey, talented dude. I do not take any creative talent away from Mr. Anderson. I don't like all of his films, but I respect his talent, and I do have some of his films are some of my favorite, because I absolutely loved Rushmore when it came out years ago. But I really love that film. I could still go back and watch that film. And like Royal Tenenbaums, I know that's a favorite of both of ours from one of his. We both love that film. I think he's really cool. But yeah, so I'd hang out with Jordan Peele, and I would not want to hang out with Wes Anderson.
That's fair.
What about you, man?
Yeah, I've been trying to think, because so what director would I want to hang out with? I mean, if dead or alive, Kubrick, potentially, just to see what was going on, because I feel like no one really knows Kubrick, or like with the way they write about him, like people, he's very mysterious.
Yeah.
And I've heard that he did that on purpose, but he wasn't really like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that he wasn't like,
I probably would have picked that.
like not every little thing in his movies meant something. Like he just was he naturally like, he just did what he liked, kind of thing. And that he didn't like, he created a persona of this guy who was very meticulous.
Okay.
And but that was like a persona. It really wasn't him. He knew he needed to create like an icon kind of thing with him. Now, but I don't know even if what was he really like? That would be interesting. Yeah, just being like, what I would like to pick his brain about what he found fascinating in life. And because I'm sure, I mean, that's stuff from the movies, the things he kind of, his movies, I'm sure, was what interested him.
Yeah.
But I, just to find out, what he just thought, and what he thought about like the movie industry and the back then, and especially like making movies at that time. And director I wouldn't want to hang out with. Well, there's probably a lot. I'm trying to think of what's that guy? What?
You said that like, what's that guy?
Yeah.
Like, not only would you not hang out with him, but he might not want to meet you at all.
The guy Buffalo 66, the
Vincent Gallo.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to. Actually, I think
I'm laughing because as soon as you said that, like, the Buffalo 66 poster snapped in my head. That's the picture of him going.
Yeah. I think this might be shout out John. He might have mentioned that before about not wanting to hang out with.
Oh, really?
It sounds like I feel like he's talked about that before, but because that guy seems like too much.
He does seem intense.
He's
man.
like, I mean, maybe you could say I wouldn't want to hang out with Harmony Korine, kind of for the same reason.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that either.
Although it'd be interesting. It would be interesting, but I don't know. I wouldn't want to hang out with.
Remember that line from Spring Breakers? Spring break forever.
Have you seen that movie?
No, I've never seen that whole thing,
Oh,
actually.
you should watch it. Yeah. I thought that movie was great. And
You
I
know-
put off watching it for so long because of what it seemed like it was. And it was deeper than that, man. It was like, yeah. It was deep, man.
I'm not surprised. He's like that.
Yeah.
He's like that.
But like he shows this side of like humanity that's like,
That nobody ever wants to see.
you don't want to see it, yeah, but there is like a harmony, I guess, within that life. Or sort of is, you know what I mean? Like there's a book I want to write, and hopefully one day I will, about that kind of world. And I guess it's sort of like Spring Breakers, but different, but similar maybe. And so he like kind of shines a light on the function of a dysfunctional thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like despite themselves, they still end up weird. I don't know. It's weird. You should watch that movie. Or maybe I'm thinking, because he did one. No, I'm thinking of The Beach Bum, the one he did after that. Spring Breakers is cool, but The Beach Bum I liked more. That's the one with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's well, you're right. He did that right after Spring Breakers, so it's got the same aesthetics and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it looks like.
But that one guy in Spring Breakers reminds me of Matthew McConaughey, though.
Oh yeah. Who's that guy?
I forget his name.
James Franco.
That was James Franco?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He looks like the Riff Raff guy. You know who he is, the rapper?
Oh, no.
Riff Raff.
I just thought you meant like he's a riff-raff kind of dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he looks all creepy and rough and forever.
Yeah, so those are our...
Yeah, so I couldn't. And then like I was started thinking about the ones that I like, who I couldn't hang out with and who I could. And maybe since you made the statement about Stanley Kubrick being like not like that, I'm like, well, maybe some of them aren't as what they would appear to be. Now, Steven Spielberg seems like he'll genuinely be like a nice dude. Maybe
I almost said him, yeah, because strictly from like, I think he would be great to talk to as a filmmaker to learn about just like the details of how he does his work. Mm-hmm. I think he would be very good. I think he'd be a good teacher.
Yeah.
To teach film, because he's very, I don't know, the way he does it is very like teacherly kind of. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other guys, I don't know if they'd even want to talk about, because it's like whenever I go to if there's a Q&A that I'm the audience and they say, do you have any questions for this director or whatever, I typically don't, because I don't know what to ask. And then it's like, well, I could say like, what was your process and how did you, I want to know more technically. I don't really care about I don't know. I don't care so much about how'd you think of that idea? Because you know what I mean? Because I don't think it's going to help me think of an idea. Maybe it will if they're like, I go for a walk every day and then they think of ideas and it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. You're walking. Mm-hmm. But I don't, concept of a story could be a million different things. So I could talk to them about that particular story they chose to tell and why they tell it. And that would be interesting, I guess. But there's I really want to know the technical stuff of how did you do all that in that scene? Where'd you put the camera and where, what was the workflow look like? Mm-hmm. It's the technical stuff that's more of interest to me of how did you do that? How did they get all those people in that, scene to do the thing they needed to do at the same moment? How'd you time it all? And
I definitely have some technical questions for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess depending on the director, you would have technical questions because I don't know if I'd have as many technical questions for David Lynch, but I would have other questions for David Lynch. You know what I mean? I would.
Oh, right.
Because I would like to ask David
he's
Lynch.
one that I would. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like, so did you dream this, or like what happened in that dream? You know.
Well, you see, Susie. I knew Susie back.
Yeah. The late David Lynch.
And little Timmy. See, little Timmy and Susie go to the movies. They come out. Susie says it's one thing. Timmy says it's about something else. But this is wonderful. This is how it should be.
Nobody should ever know what's going on. Yeah, man, that's
Now, he would be, actually, man, maybe, I don't know. Either he falls on the line of I'd want to meet him and not want to meet him.
Yeah, he can. He's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
He's definitely on the spectrum.
Maybe
Because I have a
wanna be
feeling he's
part
one of those
his
people.
world.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
because like, I have a feeling he's one of those people where when you ask him a question, he'll stare at you really long before he answers it.
Like and he does in the shows.
Yeah, and then you be like, you know.
Yeah, are you gonna? Yeah. I love those scenes in Twin Peaks: The Return where it's like super long takes of like what you're talking about, where he's just looking, and then, like the transition from one scene to the other that takes like 5 minutes, the slowest transitions I've ever seen in anything. He did that in Twin Peaks: The Return, and it was great. It's all because there's a certain point where you're watching it and you're like, I think that's the other scene that he transitioned to.
Yeah.
But then you're like, but I still see Kyle. I still see Kyle MacLachlan, sort of, right? Am I tripping out, or did they fully transition to another scene? And I thought that was great. I was like, this is insane. Who does this?
You know, I was thinking about that girl. I can't remember her name right now, but she plays Laura Palmer, and they bring her back for Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yeah, they do.
And I was looking at her. You know, that's how That's how the it ends. She screams.
Oh yeah, she screams.
Yeah,
don't. If you haven't seen that, watch that because man.
Yeah.
If you like David Lynch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Watch.
He's acquired taste, so be sure you like David Lynch.
Yeah.
But like, and I was like, this woman has come back from all these years of doing all this stuff when she's young just to scream again. And it sounds like she still got it. She still got that scream.
Oh yeah.
Because I heard she had a hard time. I think she had like a. Yeah, I think after she got. Well, I think after she became popular, she had like a rough bout with drugs and stuff for a long time, and so she didn't do movies or anything for a while.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Is that yeah? I wondered. I was like, why isn't she in anything else? Seems like.
Yeah, because she was in she was in that one film Vampires. John Carpenter's Vampires. Yeah. But yeah, I think John Carpenter's Vampires, and maybe a few other movies, but it's not a lot like you'd think, especially with the popularity of Twin Peaks when she was young. You know,
I could see her being like a cameo in different TV shows and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. She's good though. She's a really good actor. It'd be cool to see her and stuff. You know, did you ever see that behind the scenes thing of the guy that plays Audrey? Or the girl that plays Audrey. What's her name? I don't know her actor name, but it's of her on the return talking to David Lynch. And she they're going over the scene. Like her only scene in the return. She's in the one scene of the return, and that's it. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Or maybe she's in multiple.
I think she's in multiple scenes because she's married to that guy.
It's one location the whole time though. They're having an argument, like
with her husband. Yeah.
So she said like she's talking to David Lynch behind the scenes, and she's like, she just dawned on her. She was like, this is about the argument we had. And David Lynch like smiles like it's true. Like he wrote that because they had an argument.
That's hilarious.
You know, you could totally see like David Lynch thinking about an argument he had with her, and be like, I'm gonna just write this. Mm-hmm.
Well,
so yeah, so now topic time.
What are we talking about today?
Well, the topic this week is films we consider masterpieces. Films we consider masterpieces.
So, well, first we should talk about what is a masterpiece.
Very good question. What's your... I have a philosophy behind this. I've thought a lot about this. You got some thoughts on it, or
well, of course,
should I kick it?
No, go for it.
Kick it off. Okay, so obviously, film is subjective, taste is subjective. Something, but a masterpiece to me is a filmmaker who is firing on all cylinders, who every element to the story, to the movie, is maybe not 100% perfect, but you wouldn't, there's no one thing that you like, that's a big flaw. I like that movie except that one little part, and they did that. Not that you can't do that, but like a movie that's just like, it's so good. Like even if there is one little flaw, that doesn't matter because the whole movie is like epic and great. It's like the director succeeded 100% on what they were trying to do. Obviously you'd have to talk to the filmmaker to see if that is true with them, but like it feels that way. The movie feels like, oh, this is perfect. It's great. That's my... And there's another element to masterpiece that I think could be wrong, but a scale of it. To me, a masterpiece the scale needs to feel really important. Not that like everything crazy is going on, like they're on a spaceship and it has to like be epic, but like Punch Drunk Love to me is a masterpiece. It's Paul Thomas Anderson's masterpiece. And the scale of that, it's just people in rooms. Mm-hmm. But the feeling of it and what he's trying to tell, I think, is like the universe, the epicness or the bigness of love, right? And that it feels huge, like as a topic. That's a huge topic about humanity and what it and all this stuff. That's why to me it's also a masterpiece because just what it's about. I mean, the scale of it.
So I think a while back I looked up like the definition. Man, help.
Thank you.
So a while back I looked up the definition to masterpiece. And which is, I mean, that's pretty much what it's saying, but it's saying like a work of art that's done, at such a level that it's considered mastery, which is why it's called masterpiece, and it's considered like you've mastered this particular craft. And I think they originally got that term from sculptures and stuff like that, and possibly, and I could be wrong, possibly even paintings, but it definitely wasn't films.
Yeah.
But so that's where it's coming from. So I agree with what you're saying because I think it pretty much is the same thing. I would have explained it the same way. One of those films where the directors, because I don't judge it, which sounds like what you were saying as well. I don't call something a masterpiece based on how entertaining it is at all. To me, it's a masterpiece when the director is primarily, should I say, the director is absolutely nailing everything he's going for. He or she is going for everything they're going for. And everything they want, and also I would say when it's at the level of a masterpiece is when they're doing it and it feels effortless to us as the audience.
Yeah,
When it feels like it's just happening.
yeah,
And when we don't see all the work, that went behind it and the searching, but just when they nail it with that level of precision, to me that's a masterpiece. And so what the movie is a masterpiece to me. Since you mentioned Punch Drunk Love, a masterpiece to me would be, speaking of David Lynch, would be Mulholland Drive.
yeah.
And the reason I'd say Mulholland Drive is a masterpiece is because the theme of dreams, the different themes that David Lynch works with in his films, like for dreams and good and evil, and then also kind of certain social structures and the lie that lies beneath certain social structures and things of that nature. I feel like all of those themes he dealt with effortlessly in Mulholland Drive. Yeah. So much so to where he didn't have to so much so to where he could just effortlessly end the film with somebody going Silencio. And that be it. You know what I mean? And that for me is like, that I would say that's a film that when I saw, maybe not the first time because I didn't know what was going on, but later that's a film definitely that I would say is a masterpiece. What's another masterpiece to you?
Another one to me, imagine watching Mulholland Drive for the first time and you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Oh yeah, oh. And then at the end, you're like, made perfect sense to me. Just knowing the whole thing. You're like, yeah. And then that scene happened. Okay, I'm right with you. Not at all. Never like getting to just like the random scene and then being like, what is happening? What am I watching right now? Because it just changed into a different movie. Another masterpiece would be, I was thinking about Hayao Miyazaki, and all of his films are beautiful, but I think Spirited Away, to me, it's like a masterpiece. And I know not everybody... Like some people, I think Princess Mononoke is a lot of people's favorite, and they would say that's a master. Probably it is, but I would need to rewatch it. I hadn't seen it in a while. But everything's done really well. Like the animation is just like flawless on Spirited Away. The characters are very distinct in their own. The setting is really interesting. Like there's so much about it that is just like perfect to me. And I got a bunch of other kind of masterpiece movies.
What about the one you mentioned earlier?
What did I mention
before? Dunkirk.
Oh, Dunkirk. Yes. So Dunkirk is, to me, I think Dunkirk is Nolan's only masterpiece. Now, hold on. I like Nolan's films, okay? I'm not saying I don't like Nolan's films. He makes great films. But it's, to me, his only masterpiece. All of his other films, there's something that doesn't quite work for me in those movies. That it's a shame. I'm always bummed out because I'm like, man, it's so good. Everything else was so good, except this one thing that really, to me, doesn't make that movie like. I'm not on board 100%. But with Dunkirk, after that movie, I was like, yes, this is what he's been building towards. He's been building his skills to tell this story the way he told it. The weak things about Nolan, he didn't include in that movie. And it was great. Yeah, I think it's a masterpiece. Would you agree with me as far as Nolan goes? Like, Or what do you think? Do you think that's a masterpiece?
As far as right now, I don't. But then again, I've only watched Dunkirk a couple of times.
I've only seen it once, and maybe that I should rewatch it. I can't officially call it a masterpiece until I.
But I definitely like it, and I like Nolan's movies. But none of Nolan's movies I would consider masterpieces. None of those. But I do understand what you say when you say some of his films miss the mark in a certain way, because I do feel that way with certain ones. I don't like all of them at the same level. You know what I mean? So that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, another masterpiece that I feel people will probably disagree with me on is Darren Aronofsky's Mother. I feel like that is an absolute masterpiece, and the reason why, even as crazy and chaotic as that movie is, which many of his movies are, but I feel like that's the film. That's a film where he's being 100% himself, and also I think he put so much of himself into that film in such an effortless way that to where what came out it was in such a poetic way where by the end of it it's like you just get that whether you get it or not. Mm-hmm. And like that's why and it does have its issues, and I would say a masterpiece can have its issues, but like there are parts of the dialogue that are sort of not, they're not exactly, he's not a writer, so they're not that entertaining. But I think the overall allegory that he's going for and that he is trying to tell, I just feel like he nailed it. And I feel like that's a film that he had, like, whether not saying he consciously worked his whole career to make that film, but at that point in his career that he made that film, I feel like he was at his best that he probably has ever been. I mean, since that it's been what? The Whale, I think that's it.
Yeah, after that.
And then of course he has this new one coming out, which I am so excited to see. But yeah,
I'd be curious to see what. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't like Mother as much. I think the dialogue disqualifies it for me to be a masterpiece, just because the dialogue bothered me so much. But that's kind of a theme with him. His masterpiece, I think, I'd say Noah, dude. Yep. Noah's Aronofsky's masterpiece. All right, guys?
I don't know.
Honestly, maybe it is.
I don't know, man. I felt like
just
Noah's
because
super
it's
low
not
on the
an
list.
original, like. The rest.
is
I was
funny.
gonna say the rest, or Black Swan, because Black Swan's like, I don't know, but then that gets into why do I think a masterpiece is a masterpiece? Because to me, I think The Wrestler is more engaging. Black Swan's not. Black Swan is just very tidy. It's very tidy. So, what are some other movies?
So thinking of some older films, like if we were to go to Kubrick.
Kubrick. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I would say 2001 is a masterpiece.
Yeah,
I would say. I wouldn't have said that at one point, but after a while, I got it. I feel like 2001, you have to get it in order to really see what Kubrick is going for in that film. And some of the statements that he's making in that film with a science fiction film, I think are just so fascinating. And I feel like he pulls it off. And like, the whole difference between, how it starts off, he's like allows us to spend that time with those apes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it just switches and it's not about apes anymore. He pulls it out. See, stuff like that, I felt like he was just dead on with. dead on with. So I feel like that would be. I almost wanted to say Eyes Wide Shut is another masterpiece, but I don't know if I could fully say that one is.
See, I would, to me, that's his master. Yeah. Honestly, 2001 is too, though.
So you put both of them as
I would put, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Eyes Wide Shut is a masterpiece. Because there's no element I would have been like, I would have cut that. It all directs to it all tells this one story. All of the elements, and it does such a good job of telling that story that all the elements work together perfectly. Well, why would you say it wasn't a masterpiece?
Well, I guess I'm more considering the point in his career, because it feels different. It feels like it was such a different time for Kubrick when he did Eyes Wide Shut. Now, I guess picking apart the actual movie, I mean, it's nothing too extreme that I would go to. I mean, I do feel like certain parts of it did, like we watched Tom Cruise go through basically the horror, like I always say, it's like a horror film for relationships. But we watch him go through like these trials with different things and with different women. How one of them's in love with him, he didn't know, and then another is like he tries to go to the prostitute, he couldn't do it. And I feel like there was a time where there was a level of consistency that kind of got lost just for a slight moment, because I think it cuts back to him, to her, and his daughter. And when it cuts back, you kind of, I felt like he should have stayed on. I can't remember his name, Tom Cruise's character, but I feel like he should have stayed with him for the moment. I feel like the ending would have been that much more impactful if he had stayed with him, but he didn't. And I feel like that was, but like I said, that's slight. That's real slight. That's me being picky. So I guess maybe that's the thing I'm saying, why I'm not putting it on every level. Which in comparison though to 2001, I felt like everything fit like a Lego piece. Even if I didn't enjoy it, it just still fit so perfectly. As just like perfect kind of feel. And even though like some of the shots are super long and everything, but I feel like what he was going for is just so well matched. I guess that's why I'm putting that one as one instead of Eyes Wide Shut.
2001. I was thinking that recently too. Is like, it really is interesting what he's talking about in that movie. Mm-hmm. I think he's talking about evil through not like the knowledge of evil or good and evil, kind of like that. The obelisk is essentially knowledge, and it causes like the monkeys to like evolve into humanity, and then go into the future, and we're still got evil with like the how, and then it's all it's so good. It's so interesting, like what it's actually about. To me, it's the perfect sci-fi movie. It's like the best, like that is essentially what science fiction is about. It's good science fiction, like relates to what does it mean to be human, what's humanity, and also like dealing with humanity in the long term of like they're in the future, what are they like in the future. It does a great job at like thinking about that, and that the concept of what are we as humans. And it's really good.
Another masterpiece. I got deja vu for some reason. It's weird. Another masterpiece, though, is for Spike Lee. I think we already talked. I don't think you've seen this one before, but he did a film called I can't even remember the name of it.
Inside Man.
No. What's that movie called? Damon Wayans.
Google it.
Oh, Alex called.
Google it. Just Google it. That's what we do. Google it. We Google it. We just Google it now.
$136 things he directed.
Really? Jeez.
Yeah, because he's directed commercials too.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's like one word.
One word.
Bamboozled.
Oh, Bamboozled.
Okay. Let me start over. So the film Bamboozled by Spike Lee. That's that to me, that was a masterpiece for him. Once again, I feel like so much of the commentary on about the United States, and particularly connected to racism, that theme that he continues to have throughout his movies. I feel like with Bamboozled, that's when he nailed it. He also, I like what he did too. It's because he also made it. It had elements of racism in it, but it also had elements of African Americans' negative response to what isn't racism and what's perceived to be racism. And he draws it's a very middle ground film in a sense, and like the way he does it, he does it great. He incorporates like older, kind of Reconstructionist era memorabilia in it, and like characters in it, and because basically the movie's about this guy who is, first of all, what's awesome is he starts off the movie defining satire.
Oh, really?
And then and the film is actually starring Damon Wayans, and Damon Wayans has to come up with a show for black people to love. But the show he comes up with is terrible. It's basically taking every stereotype and just every old school stereotype and just anteing it up. But what ends up happening is the show becomes a hit because he's actually trying to do it to get fired.
Oh.
But the show becomes a hit. And like people like it, and then white people like it. So, and then there's a scene like where white people are watching it all together in blackface. I'm telling you, man, it's a well done film. That is Spike's masterpiece, and unfortunately, that's not the one. That's one of his films that doesn't get talked about very much. But he's at the top of his game when he did that film. He was a master craftsman, so to speak.
I've seen it when I was young, and I need to rewatch it because
It's a good one, man.
Wow.
And he shot some of it on VHS too, or something like that, or some kind of video format.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. That. Trying to think some masterpieces.
And then you got the old school ones. I definitely would. I would definitely agree that, especially after watching it again recently, Citizen Kane. I would definitely say that's absolutely a masterpiece.
Yeah, that's really good.
And then there's another film called Sunrise that came out years ago. I'd say that's a masterpiece. You got them, man. They're all around, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think Citizen Kane was like touted as like the first masterpiece or whatever. Like people were talking about it like that, and I put off watching it because sometimes I'll put off watching something because people are like, "It's the best movie ever." And it's like, all right,
it'll happen.
But and because sometimes I'll watch it and somebody will say it's the best movie ever, and I watch it and I'm like, no, it's not, not to me. But then sometimes I'll watch it like what was the not the Maltese Falcon. The other one, the one about
The Big Sleep.
no, what is it called? Same guy from Maltese Falcon.
You talking about Bogart?
Yeah.
Okay, The Big Sleep, Chinatown. The Chinatown.
Chinatown.
I mean, I'm sorry, not Chinatown. Here's looking at you, kid. It's that one.
That one. That
I can't think of that name.
It Casablanca.
Casablanca.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I had always heard like Casablanca, it's so good, so good. And I put off watching it, and then I finally did. And luckily, I seen it on. I seen it in the theater. I think it might have been on film, maybe. But I watched it, and it was like, this is so good. Like, this is. You know, it like kind of shocked me because I heard so many people talking about how good it was that I was like, all right, yes. But then I was like, no, they undersold it. It's so good. Like the writing, the script to that is so good.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty solid.
That it's a masterpiece. Like that movie is just straight up masterpiece. And yeah, I was glad I finally watched it. Mm-hmm. The people were right.
But I know what you mean, though. Sometimes when everybody likes it, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's just, well, you don't want to like, because I'll tell somebody, like, I'll tell you or somebody be like, hey, check out this film. It's really good. And the more I do that, it's like, I almost don't even tell somebody something's really good. Usually I will, but I might undersell it just because I'm like, yeah, I don't want them to know. I don't want them to have that going into the movie thinking it's going to be something or having expectations in a way and then being disappointed because it wasn't that. You know, because there'll be a thing where you'll hear about a movie and you have an expectation it's going to be one thing and it's something a lot different. It doesn't mean it's a bad film. It just was so different from your expectation.
Right.
Kind of created a bad film.
Right.
And because then you'll rewatch it and it'll be like, oh, this actually was good. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. So that's where I like I've never seen The Godfather still, and I keep putting that one off because I hear it's really good. I'm sure it's really good, but I'm saving it for I don't know when.
Yeah, the other two, they're pretty good, but they're not as good as that first one.
Which
Godfather.
Oh yeah, I heard.
But see,
the third wasn't.
The thing about The Godfather though is that it's such what ruined like the reputation of The Godfather for me is when I saw Goodfellas.
Okay.
Because they are not the same movie, but they're both about gangsters. But they're not the same movie at all. And Scorsese almost just destroys the gangster, like Scorsese's approach to a gangster film is just so different. I like that one more. You know, I was just so much more impressed by that one.
Fast-paced.
Yeah, because it was a lot more fresh. But Godfather is just classic cinematic storytelling. But it's great though. It's great.
Who? Oh, it's Coppola. Yeah, Coppola.
Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah. Speaking of, he just did a film recently, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
I'm really curious. But I heard it wasn't that good, but just him doing it anyway. Like, I'm gonna take all my own money and dump it into this film, and like nobody will help me make it, so he made it himself. You gotta give him props for that.
Yeah, I respect that big time.
That to me is,
you gotta do it sometimes, man.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
Oh, we're at 101.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, final thoughts.
So yeah, I know we should do this. So final thoughts. I would hang out with Jordan Peele and maybe Stanley Kubrick, but I would not hang out with Wes Anderson. And I think Mother is a masterpiece and other things are masterpieces. So masterpieces and hanging out may have connections with each other, or maybe not.
Well, this is going to sound super pretentious, but do you have in your head? Do you have like this thing that you're like, that's going to be my masterpiece? Which that might be a very dangerous thing to do, but like thinking you'd really only want to do it if you had the right everything. You wouldn't want to just make it.
I mean, I guess the only way I can answer that question is to say I feel like some of my stuff could possibly be considered masterpieces if I were to do them right, outside of me saying it. You know what I mean? And so I do feel like if I had everything to make Pastor Miller, the feature I wrote, Pastor Miller, and if it, if everything went smooth, as good as it can go and the film got made, as far as the vision I have for it, I think people may think it is. Maybe. So.
Nice.
What about you? You think that?
I have a new philosophy behind all that. Is to try not to plan for that, because you can't plan for that. I mean, that's
true. That is true.
So knowing you can't plan, because I've had ideas where I'm like, that could be really good. Like I've had a lot of ideas.
That's gonna be my best idea ever, right?
Yeah, like because I've had ideas where I'm like, that could make a really good, interesting movie, and I want to make that movie. But I think of it as like, but it's not the recipe for the best movie. Mm-hmm. But I still want to make it. Like the idea isn't a masterpiece worthy idea, but still want to make as best you can, whatever. Right. And then there are ideas that I'm like, that has the makings of what could be really, really good, powerful story. Mm-hmm. Not to say like I know for sure if I made it, but it's like one of those where I'm like, that idea I want to get better at filmmaking before I even try it, because I want it to be like my Olympics, like you do training and you go to different competitions, but it's not the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And when you go to the Olympics, I have no idea what it's like to go to the Olympics or what they go through, but I'd imagine it's like they mentally they have to prep for that. You have to train up to that. So there are movies that I want to make that are like, I need to train up for that. That's something I want to like be really good if I get to do that.
Yeah, man, me too, man. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for joining us again. This is Avraham ben Yehuda.
Dylan Herin-Soule.
And we are A Place Pictures. Go ahead and subscribe, like our videos, share them, and watch our films. And continue watching so that you can be on this journey with us to make our films and stuff.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.